Since 2003, this is the Sports Source, East Tennessee's #1 sports talk show.
Brought to you by Junk Be Gone and the Garza Law Firm.
With your host, John Pennington. The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into the Sports Source. Happy to have you joining us today for a Sunday in mid-May. There is a lot to talk about. We got a lot to cover. Tennessee continues to add players. The season opener has been moved. A wee bit amount of baseball. Naturally, with Tennessee, you're always looking for the nightmare to come. Is there a landmine that's just sitting out there, the next one to be stepped on? We'll discuss that and what I mean. Three most watchable games on the Tennessee schedule. Lots and lots and lots. So let's get right into it. First segment of our show today is brought to you by Junk Be Gone. I am a big believer in easy. I'm a fan of easy. And I use Junk Be Gone every year because it makes my life easy. I did my spring cleaning a couple of weeks back, needed to toss an old end table that was kind of rickety leg, some old speakers that I no longer use, an old amplifier that no longer worked. Instead of 5 trips in my car down to the dump, Junk Be Gone comes, picks it up, hauls it away. Easy. That's why I use them every year. You should too, whether it's your home or your business. Check out junkbegone.biz. Great local company, Junk Be Gone. All right, let's welcome in our panelists for today. I started to say wave, but you're it. So if you're sitting there saying, oh, I was really hoping, too bad. It's just these guys. From WNML AM and FM, we have Josh Ward. Josh, thanks for being here.
My apologies, John.
Yep. Best we could pull on a Sunday. And right down there, Vince Farrar, also from WNML AM and FM. Congratulations on an exciting Vol win that you helped call yesterday.
Yeah, it was fun. Appreciate it.
Knocked off Arkansas with a walk-off home run. You should check out the call online if you haven't heard it already. Chuck Cavaleris down there, longtime sports writer and member from show #1, I believe.
Yes.
First year or first show?
Year #1.
Year #1. You weren't there first show. That's right. He broke in the second week.
No, I was just stalking you back then.
That's right. Chuck, thanks for being here. All right. Let's get underway by talking about the never-ending stream of people into Josh Heupel's program, which nothing surprising about people coming in. We've all talked about it, and we showed it last week. You've lost more players than Baylor lost when they went through their scandal, then Penn State lost when they went through their no one's seen, in the last decade at least, probably longer, no one's seen the attrition that Tennessee has seen off that roster. So it makes sense that they're still saying, yes, come on in. The revolving door spins both ways. Come in, join us. But the thing that does surprise me, a couple of things. First of all these guys that are coming in, we're talking about, well, he could start. Well, he's expected to get a lot. He's going to compete for a starting job. He's going to get a lot of playing time. These aren't depth pieces they're adding, which I would expect. The second thing that surprises me a little bit, when we went into spring, folks on this show, folks around media in the town, I know fans, you would look at it and you would say there are probably 3 areas where you feel decent. Defensive line, because you've at least got bodies there. You know, no stars, but you've got a lot of bodies there. Receiver, okay, you got some good receivers. Quarterback room, you got 4 options there. And they're pretty highly recruited guys. Okay, you got some experience. He's brought in 2 defensive linemen and could bring another. He added Dejon Terry from Kansas this week. Might add another defensive lineman if they can bring him in from Kansas. You've brought in 2 quarterbacks in Hendon Hooker and in
Joe Milton.
Yeah, Joe Milton.
The Michigan guy.
Whose name I forgot. And you brought in a receiver last week. So my question for you guys is, isn't this kind of an indictment on the talent that was left behind by Pruitt? There was this idea that, well, he at least improved the talent. Well, no, he had guys leave, but also the guys that stayed, the coaches look at them and they obviously didn't evaluate them the same way that we all thought they were going to evaluate them. We thought these areas were going to be at least, I wouldn't say strengths, but less weak than the others, and that's where they're bringing people in and they're saying, well, they could start. Is this an indictment of what they found over there?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's an indictment of the talent that is left behind, and then also the attrition is a huge factor. Like even with the class coming in, Dylan Brooks, Isaac Washington, and Katron Evans were big defensive line members in the 21 class. Well, none of them are going to play football at Tennessee, so
Yeah,
you have to replace them.
Yeah, Evans chose to play instead at Jackson State, which was announced this weekend.
Yeah,
So
and-
left you for Jackson State.
So you have to replace these guys somehow, and bringing in Terry helps with long term, so that's good. But also, I think they might be bracing for more impact, and maybe that part of that is the coaches suggesting it. But I think there could be more movement on the roster. So if that's the case, you need players to replace them.
Yeah, I think it absolutely is an indictment. I think there's a couple of things at play. One is that they have guys, they have bodies, but maybe not guys that fit necessarily what this coaching staff wants to do. More mobile guys on the defensive line. I think you'll see more athletic, different types of defensive linemen. And then a wide receiver in Javonte Payton, who comes over from Mississippi State. He's a guy that can really run, maybe blow the top off. That's what they need. Heupel will typically go down the field with his routes. So, and then obviously a quarterback. I think we kind of knew that yeah, there were some guys that maybe overall could hold things together, but maybe not a special player. They're hoping that would be the case with Milton, but it does reflect that this isn't a special group. There's not those difference makers on the roster.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like a triple whammy, isn't it? I mean, you have a coach leave, you have the transfer portal available, and then you've got possible NCAA sanctions, don't you? I mean, you got those three things. You got a cloud hanging over you. And, John, I mean, I think you go out and didn't you find maybe the number one quarterback in the portal? Michigan quarterback. You get a linebacker from Texas that's a starter.
That one to me, aside from why he's leaving Texas, which is a question mark, why did the guy was their leading tackler in terms of what he produces on the field? To me, that's the best get they got. Or the best got that they get. But in terms of the other guys, like the quarterback, like Joe Milton sat for 2 years at Michigan. He got the job, then he lost the job. So everybody around here can blow him up as the greatest quarterback in the portal, and he's going to come in and start, and you won't believe it. Maybe he is. Didn't show it at his last place. So I'm going to pump the brakes a little there for now, just in fairness to him.
But it just seems to me like if the portal is going to take away and as much as anywhere in the country, you have to go in there and get some people.
No, I
out
agree
of
with
it.
that. I'm just surprised that there's so much talk about these guys coming in and starting.
Well, and the defensive line, to go back there, I think that is the example that is often cited when you say, okay, guys are coming back, but how'd they perform previously? Yeah. And especially how'd they perform over the previous couple of seasons? They were okay.
Pretty good under Tracy Rocker, and then thankfully they ran him off.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. But I would also argue that was at best middle of the pack in the SEC.
Yeah, he got more out of them.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So from a
guys.
talent standpoint, if it comes back to that, I think the new coaching staff came in, Ronnie Gardner maybe, and said, yeah, I don't know that we have as much as the piece of paper would say.
And for the defensive line, remember Josh Heupel in his last press conference in the spring, he kind of alluded to, hey, that defensive line, I might have been the one that asked him about it, and he said, yeah, that's a position we may look to add in the offseason. We'll see. Not a ton of bodies, and you don't have difference makers there. Even if you have experienced guys, you don't have either one of those two. You need to address it in the offseason.
And John, it's kind of like I think you've brought up several times. If you got an offense that's looking to have 80 or 90 snaps a game, right? How much more is your defense going to be on the field? And good luck with that in a 3:30 game at Florida. Good luck with that in one of those afternoon games when it's just blazing hot, playing Georgia or somebody. So I think that's what they're looking at as much as
You're
anything.
going to need more depth than you would normally need.
Yes, sir.
There's also another side to that. The more, and there's just no way to debate this. The more plays you run, the more chance for injury.
Right.
So it would be interesting if you could go back and track UCF's history of injury. Well, just the injuries in in Josh Heupel's offense. We'll talk about Danny White later. In Josh Heupel's offense at UCF, Missouri, Oklahoma, were there more injuries than other teams? It's impossible to track that, but it would be interesting to see if more plays did equal more sprains, more pulls, so there's a little bit more turnover in terms of depth issues.
And then on offense, more plays, more opportunities for that wide receiver position you were talking about, right? They're going to go 4 and 5 wide at times. Now, granted, sometimes you'll split out a running back or tight end, but at Tennessee, they're at 2 wides a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 max in certain formations. They're going to use a lot more wide receivers. They're going to need a lot more rotation, plus that pace. They will use a lot
They're
more.
going to have to, as Chuck points out. If you're going to have guys running down the field,
right?
How many times can you run straight down the field with that many number of plays you're going with, and it's 85, 90 degrees wherever you're playing in the South in September and October. So, yeah. All right, when we come back, let's move on and let's talk about the fact that Tennessee got rid of their director of compliance. No shock there. But the investigation is ongoing. They're in month 6. Is that a sign of due diligence, or is that a red flag to be worried about? We'll discuss. Come on back on the Sports Source.